Okay, let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Off the Cuff, the live stream. The show will start at 4 o'clock live. You can turn to WLXU 93.9 FM if you're in Lexington, or stream the show live from the station website at radiolex.us. You can hear the full broadcast in its entirety. Got a great show today. Jeremy Zeller is going to be on the show, special guest. But I'm excited. A lot of good stuff coming. Okay, let's see here. We got to make sure this is set up the way we want it. Yeah. Hey, Buffy. How are you doing? I love your name. I think I've told you this before. Buffy, 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 the Vampire Slayer. Oh, shoot. Come on, man. Let's go. Come on. Of course. Of course. Oh, thank you so much.
I'm DJ Walt C. of the Time Capsule Show. You're listening to Radio Lex, the voice of the people. WLXU 93.9 LPFM, Lexington, Kentucky.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views
All right,
of
here we go.
Radio or its board of directors. The views expressed are solely those of the programmers.
You are listening to Off the Cuff. Now, here's your host, Adam Banks.
Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks, coming at you live from Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for tuning in to WLXU 93.9 FM. In addition to listening on the radio, you can check out our Facebook live stream at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks, or you can stream the show live from the station website at radiolex.us. I am broadcasting from the Deborah Hensley Studios here at Radio Lex on North Limestone. It is March the 14th, 2024, 4:01 to be exact. Thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on another live episode. What a beautiful, gorgeous day it is outside. I mean, my watch is saying 75 degrees. It feels 80. I couldn't be happier to have this weather here. I guess spring, it's not officially here. But in my book, it is. I say that, and then next week I think it's supposed to be cold. But nonetheless, it is nice, and it's a very nice day outside. Folks, I want to start the show talking about the 96th Annual Academy Awards, which happened this past Sunday. One word to describe the Oscars: Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer took home everything. It took home 7 Oscars. It was nominated for 13 and took home 7. So it dominated. There's usually a movie, though, that always dominates the Oscars. Usually there's one film that takes home all the major categories. Well, this year it was definitely Oppenheimer. So let's just do a little review of the Academy Awards. There was nobody getting slapped. Will Smith didn't tell nobody to keep his wife's name out of their mouth, but there was a little bit of action, and we'll go through it here. So we'll start with the awards. We'll start with the major awards, and we're not going to go over every single award. If you want to check out the full list of winners and nominees, you can go to Off the Cuff with Adam Banks on Facebook to listen or to take a look at that. But let's start with the major categories here. We'll start with Best Supporting Actor, and that went to Robert Downey Jr. for his role in Oppenheimer. Of course, the first... of course, that was the first of many, many different awards that Oppenheimer was going to take. Robert Downey Jr., from jail to Oscar. I think 5 years ago, the man was booking himself into jail, and now he's got an Oscar. Great. Now, next award, Best Supporting Actress, went to Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. I love that, don't you? My whole life, I just wanted to be different, but I just realized through life that I just needed to be myself. So the thing about her speech was they usually like to start off the ceremony giving out a major award in one of the major categories. This year, they gave out Best Supporting Actress first. So she had to be the first one to get up and speak. I would hate to be the first one to have to speak and give an award at a show like that where it's watched by millions of people. You don't even have time to get your feet wet to the ceremony before they start coming at you with an acceptance speech. Okay, the next thing that we'll discuss here is Best Original Song, and that was What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. And that was the song that was made for the movie Barbie. Here's her acceptance speech. So there we go. The Best Actress in a Leading Role went to Emma Stone for Poor Things. I really was shocked. Really, with all the awards that was given out that night, I was shocked that she took home the Oscar for Best Actress. I really thought the lady from Killers of the Flower Moon was going to get that one, but she didn't. Sometimes the best doesn't always win. And then the Best Actor in a leading role went to Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. And of course, Best Picture went to Oppenheimer. And Best Director went to Christopher Nolan as well, which was shocking because this is a director, one of the most iconic directors in Hollywood. He did all of the Batman movies. First Oscar. And of course, there was several other awards given out. But like I said, you can check that out on our Facebook page at facebook.com/offthecuff with Adam Banks. A ton of other awards given out. And that was pretty much the major awards. It was hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. Enough already with Jimmy Kimmel. He didn't do bad. I'm not here to hate on him. He did decent, but I don't know. I feel like that I've outgrown Jimmy Kimmel hosting the Oscars. He does decent, yes, but maybe it's just because I'm disappointed that they haven't asked me to host yet. I am waiting for ABC to call me and say, hey, Adam, we would love for you to host the Academy Awards because, yes, they only pay you $15,000 to do it, but it's not all about the USD, folks. A lot of the times people think that everything you do, you have to be paid for. Well, you are getting paid. It might not be in USD, but you're getting paid in other ways. You get a platform that's seen by 20, 30, 40 million people all at once. So I'm still waiting for that. Jimmy Kimmel's done it 4 or 5 times. We've had enough of him. I didn't realize also that there was a different Mother's Day than America had, but apparently there is a different Mother's Day in Britain because a lot of British winners, when they won their Oscar, they got up and said, Happy Mother's Day, Mom, because apparently in Britain, it's Mother's Day whenever the Oscars was. So it's different than how we have it here in America. There was multiple things that I liked about the Oscars. One thing that I liked about this year's Oscars is they had different presenters come out and give the award. For instance, Best Actor, when they gave that award out, they just didn't have the previous Best Actor winner from last year come out and give it. They had Best Actors from years past come out, and they would all come out and say something nice about the nominees, and then they would give out the award. So it was a chance to see more Hollywood stars. It was a chance to see people that we haven't seen in a while, like Nicolas Cage. He was on stage. And it was nice just to get to see past Oscar winners. John Cena came out and pretty much gave an award naked. And he gave the award for Best Costume. And the irony in that is he was talking about how important clothes are and costumes are for movies, because without them, really, you just look silly. But he came out, of course, he had something, I'm sure, covering himself, but he gave the illusion like he really had nothing on. Thank God he's a wrestler, and he's got the body he's got because it takes a really secure man to get in front of that many million of people and give out an award. Ryan Gosling's performance of I Am Ken just proves of how brilliant this guy is. This guy isn't even a singer, a performer, and he killed it at the Oscars. He performed I'm Just Ken, which was a song from the Barbie movie, and he killed it. He did the best performance of the night, and he's not even a musical artist. But you know, people forget that Ryan Gosling used to be in something called the Mickey Mouse Club, which was a musical club for kids where they would dance around and sing. And a lot of famous people come from the Mickey Mouse Club. People like Ryan Gosling, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake. Ryan Gosling was right in there with those guys. So maybe he did have aspirations of being a musical performer before he went into acting. The Oscar nominees, listen here, they get a swag bag. And they say that the swag bag equals out to be about $130,000. And only certain people get the swag bag, not every nominee. Just the nominees in the major categories and the host get a swag bag. Here are some of the things in the swag bag, and here's how much it cost. There is a bunch of micro needling, a bunch of plastic surgery, not really plastic surgery, but cosmetic procedures that you can get. There's gift cards for that worth over $10,000, $15,000. They have a portable grill for $1,350. They have a, let's see, what's this called? Something's worth $25,000 where they get to watch this man named Carl Chrisman do magic, mind reading, and hypnosis and comedy. So apparently to attend his show and get those benefits, it cost $25,000. They also got a retro-themed 50th anniversary Rubik's Cube featuring the puzzle's original logo and color scheme. and that price is for $15. So yeah, there's some cheap things in there, but the total cost for the entire bag is $128,000. Only 26 recipients received it. That's the nominees in all major categories and the host. So really, there wasn't any losers. I mean, even if you got nominated, you walked home with a $128,000 gift bag. Can't go wrong there. Folks, we have a great show ahead of you today. We have a special guest coming on in the third segment at around the 4:35, 4:40 mark of the show. Jeremy Zeller, he was the big winner at the Lexington Music Awards, and he will be in studio to do an interview with me and also a live musical performance on the radio. So I do look forward to having him in studio today. But folks, stick with us. We have a great show ahead of you. You're listening to Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Radio Let's, WLXU 93.9 LPFM, Lexington, Kentucky.
Radio Lex has the support of CD sponsors Drs. Arthur Seshet and Marilyn Roby. Thank you.
Motorcycles are motor vehicles just like cars and trucks and should be treated accordingly. Auto drivers should understand the challenges faced by motorcyclists, like size and visibility, as well as special motorcycle driving techniques like downshifting and weaving. Motorcycle drivers are required to obey helmet laws and other rules of the road. Hi, this is Clark at State Farm, reminding you to be a good neighbor and keep our roads safe for everyone.
Radio Lex.
Hey, Elaine. Hey, Valerie.
Circle member Cy Pugh. Thanks, Cy.
Okay, let's get this going.
I'm just kidding. Anywhere else I'd be dead. Is it my destiny?
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. This is Ryan Gosling's song, I'm Just Ken. I'm telling you, he killed it. He killed it. Not a bad song either. Not something that I would listen to on the daily, but for the movie, it was pretty good. This song actually won a Golden Globe for Best Song of the Year. You know, when the Oscars is around, it's kind of like the WrestleMania of movies. It's the World Series of movies. It's the playoff of the movies. It is the main event for the movies, the Oscars. And it kind of wraps up the movie season in Hollywood when the Oscar ends. So really, movies are highlighted pretty heavy during the Oscars right here on Off the Cuff. I like to bring in a lot of movie topics, a lot of movie segments when we're covering things like the Golden Globes or the Oscars. So, you know, I love movies, and a lot of my segments on this show, I incorporate a lot of musical, or a lot of movie topics. And I was thinking about a category at the Oscars that they don't have, that they should. And that category is Best Narrator. Think about movies that you have watched that has a really good narrator. Someone who does voiceovers for the movie. They talk over it. Maybe they're telling a story. It's helping the story get told. And it's just kind of narrating and elevating the audience's experience. And we all know that movies are a visual medium, but there's something about a narrator, the audio of a narrator, that just makes the movie better. And there is a skill to narration. You just can't throw anybody on screen to narrate a movie and expect it to go well. No, this person has to have a great voice. They have to have just a way with people, a good cadence when they're talking. And it's being a narrator and adding a narrator to a movie is a great effect to provide, like I said, information, maybe fill in some plot holes, or just add an extra slice of beautiful cinematic atmosphere. So I started thinking, You know, it's a shame that the Oscars don't have a Best Narrator award. But it made me start thinking of some of the best movies that were made better with a narrator. And there are a ton of movies with narrators, but I have compiled a list here of movies that were made better with a narrator. These particular movies, I feel like, were better because of having a narrator involved. For instance, we'll start my list with the movie Goodfellas. Do you guys remember Goodfellas? It was narrated by Ray Liotta. His cool, smooth voice just kind of told the story of the movie. Take a listen at a little sample of the opening of Goodfellas, where he just kind of introduces himself and what being a gangster means to him. Take a listen. So I love this because it was a clever way to communicate key information to the audience without taking away from the authenticity of the characters. So a lot of people before Goodfellas didn't really have any info about gangsters, what they did, how they operated, what kind of lifestyle they had. So it was brilliant to start the movie with a narrator, and it was narrated by Ray Liotta, one of the characters in the movie. Okay, next on my list is one of the best movies out there that was made better by a narrator, is from The Sandlot. It was narrated by David Mickey Evans, who played Scotty Smalls as an adult. Now, this particular scene is a little sample of his narration. This is during their 4th of July baseball game, and this is a coming-of-age film, The Sandlot, about a bunch of 12, 13-year-old boys who just love baseball and love hanging out. And this particular scene, the narration, is talking about playing baseball with each other during the summer on the 4th of July. Take a listen at this sample.
There was only one night game a year. On the 4th of July, the whole sky would brighten up with fireworks, giving us just enough light.
I love it. And I don't think this movie would have been as good without narration. Okay, next on my list is one of the best movies out there that was made better by a narrator is the movie American Psycho, starring Christian Bale. And Christian Bale is the narrator. And he plays this man named, oh my gosh, what is his name in the movie? Patrick Bateman. And the narration starts off at the beginning of the movie, and Patrick Bateman is a psycho, but he's a very successful, prominent, handsome man, successful man living in New York. And the movie starts off with his voiceover, and it's just following his morning routine in the morning of how much he takes care of his appearance and how much of a routine he has every day. And it just kind of gives you a good glimpse of his psychotic behavior through his narration. Without this narration, folks, I don't think the audience would have understood how much of a psycho the character Patrick Bateman was in the movie. Take a listen at a little sample of how this narration made the movie better.
rigorous exercise routine. In the morning, if my face is a little puffy, I'll put on an ice pack while doing my stomach crunches. I can do 1,000 now.
You know, the whole time it's showing him doing what he's telling us, so you see it as well as hear it. And it just shows how organized his apartment is, how clean it is, and it's the, you know, the penthouse apartment. He's loaded, rich, successful, and this narration just kind of lets the audience in on his psychotic behavior. Okay, next on my list, folks, as a movie where narration made it better is The Shawshank Redemption. We all know who the narrator was of Shawshank Redemption. It was Morgan Freeman. Probably the guy in Hollywood who has the best voice. And if I had a movie that I was making, I would want Morgan Freeman to be the narrator of the movie. In this movie, Morgan Freeman is talking about his friend who escapes from prison because they both are in prison for life. His friend is there. He was wrongly accused. He's in prison for no reason, but he still has to serve out his time for life, even though he's innocent. But his friend ends up escaping. We all know the plot of Shawshank Redemption. His friend ends up escaping, and here is Morgan Freeman narrating a scene in the movie, just talking about how he misses his friend, Andy. Take a listen. You gotta love it. And then another movie here that narration made better is Fight Club with Edward Norton. Edward Norton, you would think, is not a guy to be a good narrator, but he is. He's narrated several movies. He narrated American History X. He narrated Keeping the Faith. And he also narrated this one right here, Fight Club. And in this particular scene, he is talking about his own character in the movie, and he's kind of narrating to the audience about his daily routine every day at his job. And I thought I had a busy job. Listen at this scene being told by the narrator, Edward Norton.
In a different place? Could you wake up as a different person? Everywhere I travel, tiny life. Single serving sugar, single serving cream, single pat of butter. The microwave cordon bleu hobby kit. Shampoo conditioner combos, sample packaged mouthwash, tiny bars of soap. The people I meet on each flight, they're single serving friends. Between takeoff and landing, we have our time together. That's all we get. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0.
Okay, and the whole time keep in mind that while he's narrating his daily routine, it's showing the audience his daily routine. So the narration just makes it better. And there are so many movies that were made better because of the narration. So there should be a Best Narrator category added to the Oscars. And there's a ton of movies that I didn't get to that I should have included on the list. For instance, what is that movie from the 80s, John Hughes movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller was very trailblazing with his narration. He was one of the first characters to break the fourth wall, look exactly into the camera, and talk to the audience. Jim Carrey from Simon Birch was a great narrator. $1 Million Baby was made better through Morgan Freeman's narration. So a lot of movies were made better through narration, and those folks are a few that I just wanted to share with you. And it made me start thinking about that because of the Oscars. It's a shame that there's not a category for that, but hey, maybe one day there will be. All right, folks, stick with us. We still have lots more Off the Cuff coming at you live after these words. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, I'm Lily Rochelle with Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, and you're listening to Radio Lex, the voice of the people. WLXU 93.9 FM in Lexington.
Let's go places safely, Lexington. Are you driving? Are you distracted? Over 24,000 collisions and 700 fatalities occurred last year in Kentucky. The number one factor in all these collisions? Not paying attention. Texting and fidgeting with mobile devices caused more crashes last year than drunk drivers. Enable safe driving settings on your phone, which will send automatic messages to people trying to reach you that you are driving and cannot be disturbed. Hi, my name is Sue from Toyota, reminding you to put your phone away and put your eyes on the road.
Listener contributions make it possible for Radio Lex to reflect the riches and diversity of our community. Donations from listeners like you keep locally produced programming broadcast 24/7 in English on WLXU 93.9.
Hey, Kathy.
And in Spanish, WLXU.
Good to see you. Hey, Valerie. I don't know if I said hey to you yet.
FM.
Great to see you again.
Sheer generosity that keeps us on the air. Support the voice of the people you want to hear right now. Visit radiolex.us.
Radio Lex. I wish I could
and
roll my
support
tongue like
Lexington
that.
Community Radio right now.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Radio Lex has the support of CD sponsor Bethany Hicks, State Farm Agent. BethanyHicks.com.
Hey, Wade. Good to see you, man. Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. California, here I come. I am going to Los Angeles this Saturday. I leave, as a matter of fact. I fly out of the Cincinnati airport. I think my flight's around 6:30 in the morning, pretty early. So I'll arrive at LAX at around 8:30 because LA is 3 hours behind us. It's about a 5-hour flight. So I'm going out there to present at a conference for those who don't know, I'm also a college professor, and my college is sending me out there to do a presentation over a certain subject that you're probably not going to be interested in, but there'll be a whole conference full of people hopefully interested in the topic, but I'll be out there for a week. So with that being said, I want to let everybody know that next week, Off the Cuff will be a replay because I'll be in Los Angeles. So I'm just going to replay this show next week. So the show you're hearing now, you'll hear next week. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. And I'll let you know all about my trip when I get back from California. Let's go ahead and do Off the Cuff's quote of the week. And the author of this week's quote is Steve Martin. And Steve Martin, of course, is an American actor who is widely known around the world and some recognize as one of the best comedians of all time. And Steve Martin said this: "Be so good they can't ignore you. Be so good they can't ignore you." I love that topic because, folks, sometimes people are going to ignore your talents, even when you're good. You know, they're going to ignore you. Maybe it's jealousy. Maybe you're not their cup of tea even. But a lot of the times when people are ignoring you, it's because they feel like you're a threat of some kind. But there is a certain point where you can be so good that it's impossible for them to turn their back on you or turn away from you. You're right in front of their face. If you are so good at your talent, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's painting, whether it's construction, whether it's working on a car, whether it's music, whether it's acting, be so good at that you are unable to be ignored. Make people pay attention to you. Because I tell you what, not a lot of people is going to want to pay attention to you. I've noticed on social media a lot, usually people like stuff when they're not threatened by it. You know why you're not getting a lot of likes? Even though you have really good content sometimes, most of the time, people feel like it's a threat. And then what happens is you become so good and so much happens and you all of a sudden start getting this following. People start jumping in line and jumping on the bandwagon. You know why? Because you were so good, they couldn't ignore you. So be so good, they can't ignore you. They might try, but if you're good enough, they won't be able to. So that, folks, is Off the Cuff's quote of the week. Folks, I am very excited about our next guest, and he's going to be coming on in our next segment. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut this segment short, and I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear Off the Cuff Song of the Week, which will be a song by our musical guest, Jeremy Zeller. So let's go ahead, take a break, and when we come back, we'll listen to a song of Jeremy, welcome him into the studio, we'll do an interview, listen to him do a live radio performance, and it'll be a great time. So folks, stick with us. We still have lots more Off the Cuff coming at you live after these words. We'll be right back.
Are you in the right lane? Should you be? On roads with two lanes going the same direction, the right-hand lane should be used for driving and the left should be used for passing. Vehicles that use the left lane for driving interfere with the natural flow of traffic and create backups. On roads with multiple lanes going the same direction, the same rules apply. The far left lane should only be used for passing. The slowest moving traffic, including large loads, should use the far right lane. Hi, this is Deborah Hensley with State Farm, reminding you to be a good neighbor and be mindful of your lane when driving and passing.
Radio Lex has the support of Founders Circle member CHI St. Joseph Health. CHI St. Joseph Health.org.
So I throw up my hands and praise you again and again. 'Cause all that I have is a hallelujah.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Last segment of the hour. Adam Banks here with you. This is Jeremy Zeller, who, folks, dominated at the Lexies. He took home Critics' Choice. He took home Best Americana and Folk. And he also took home Male Vocalist of the Year. And I can see why. Listen at this voice. And this is a live performance, by the way. This is not studio recorded. This is just live raw vocals. So I'm so excited to have him come in the studio. Folks, Jeremy's roots are born in a family of farmers and factory workers, circled up in a living room sharing every stringed instrument you could imagine, spoons, boot stomps, and the voices of angels as his mamaw. I love that he calls it his mamaw because that's what I call my grandmother. His mother and his six sisters circled up in a song. So good old country folk coming in here to the studio to do an interview with me. So what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to take Off the Cuff's Song of the Week, and this week's song will be a song by Jeremy Zeller. And after the song, we will have Jeremy in studio. So enjoy Someone Poisoned My Wine by Jeremy Zeller, and we'll be back with Jeremy after the song.
Someone poisoned my wine, left me for dead and alone. The same one I counted on, the same one I once called home. But how can I be the one I spent a lifetime to warn?
And if you don't care, could you shut that door behind you? Make sure it latches.
But I can't escape who you are. My hands are open.
Do I need a quarter inch or anything? Or is it just...
Nope. So basically, you just plug in. These mics pick up everything great. So what we're going to do...
SM7B?
Say what now?
The SM7Bs? Yeah.
You're asking me stuff. I'm not no engineer, dude.
No, this is the same mic I've got.
So if you want to have headphones, here's the headphones. You adjust your volume yourself. Because I don't adjust I adjust the microphone.
Okay.
So don't worry about the volume. If you want it louder, you can turn it up as loud as you want. Yeah. I always like wearing them because you kind of hear what you sound like on the radio.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Oh yeah. What was it that you wanted to make sure that I covered?
A day at the park.
Okay.
Which is a autism awareness festival that I do once a year.
Uh-huh.
And then, what was the other thing?
Day at the park. Hand me that little folder over there.
Ooh, I need to tune it, make sure I'm tuned too.
Day at the park. Now, what is going on at the Day at the Park?
It's a festival to raise awareness for autism.
Gotcha. And you're performing?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I'll make sure I cover that. Thanks, man, for coming in.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're a star ever since the Lexies, dude. I bet you're social, and we'll talk about it all. I want to save a lot of it for air, but did Renee not make it?
I have not seen her.
Okay. She must not be coming, because usually she...
How many songs am I playing? 1 or 2?
Okay, so I'm going to try for 2. We might not get to both.
Talk and play, brother.
Okay, so yeah, cool. So yeah, and I'll let you play whatever. I've been playing some of your music throughout the show. Like I played an intro song. I'm playing this song, and then we'll let you sing a song. Then I'm going to play out with a song too. All right, we'll be on in 40 seconds.
In the shadows of joy,
All right, folks, as promised at the top of the hour, I have in studio with me an absolute star. You know, Jeremy, thank you so much for being here, first of all.
My pleasure.
Hey, okay, you are a star. Let's go back to the Lexies, man. I was nominated for Radio DJ of the Year. I was there, so I got to see your success firsthand. You absolutely dominated. You were nominated for not 1, not 2, not 3 awards. Were you nominated for 3?
I was nominated for 4.
Nominated for 4 and then went 3 for 4 at the Lexies. Tell everybody what you won.
The first one was for Americana Folk Act of the Year. The second was Male Vocal of the Year. And the third was Critics' Choice.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about what you said at the Lexies, because it really stood out to me. When you won one of the awards that you won, you got up and talked about sitting in the front row at the Lexies a year prior and watching everybody receive those awards. And you said you made a choice right then and there that you were going to get nominated. Take us back to a year ago, that thought process you were going through, kind of how you almost manifested your reality.
Well, yeah, it's this whole journey for me has been one of extreme intention. And so, yeah, last year, it was the second row, but yeah, I was sitting right there in the second. I wanted to be up front. I wanted to know who I needed to talk to and figure out, you know, who had the vibe that I, you know, would match with in any way, whether artistically or professionally, just trying to really read the culture of Lexington, because I live 30 minutes from here, and I want to play here more often. And so, yeah, last year sitting there, I looked over at a guy that was there with me. We're just hanging out. He helps book some of my shows, and I looked over at him. I said next year, I think I'd like to be nominated for male vocal. And so I had a mission.
It was over the last year. How has your life changed, or, you know, really, how has your life changed since the Lexies?
Sure, like since this last at Lexies or the one before?
I guess since the one before. So just this past 12 months, tell us about how your life's just changed.
Because I was so intentional, I began to go out and just go to shows, just to go to shows and meet people, network. A lot of the open mics that I had done 2 years ago, I had turned into songwriters rounds and some shows and stuff. So I was doing shows over the past year, knowing that what I'm doing, which is Jeremy Zeller and the Other Side, it wasn't even starting until 2024. So I was trying to just build momentum for when I'm actually ready to get out and tell my story. And so 2023 was used as just kind of something that I could observe the culture and figure out where I, you know, fit in, because that was tough too. You know, I come from the church world, and kind of crossing over into more of a mainstream world that has a very different mindset when you're doing shows, you know?
Yes.
So trying to read the room a lot has been something that I've had to try to get used to and get good at over the last year. And thank God he's just really, really given me a path to follow by aligning me with the right people at the right time. And so, yeah, when I got nominated for the 4, I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
Right.
You know, but still, I mean, up until they called my name, I was there for the ride.
Yeah.
Man. I was just there for the ride. And, you know, I was proud of myself for accomplishing my goal the year before, from the year before. And so my family got to, you know, be with me that night. So it was really cool. We all, you know, they were excited, and so the more I won, the funner the night got. And it was just like, by the end of it, we were just all like, what just happened in this place?
Yeah, so, what a cool moment for your family. Yeah. You know, what sets you apart from different artists?
That's a good question.
Because obviously there's something there, man.
I can tell you what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
What I hear from people a lot is that they connect emotionally with how I sing and what I sing, and that to me as an artist is about the best compliment that you could get, to know that somebody is able to take the ride with you with your art. Because, you know, a lot of the songs that, I mean, not only me but all artists, you know, they're putting a piece of themselves out there, and, you know, the fact that other people hear it, listen to it, connect with it, and then share that connection with me seems to be an emotional connection. I put everything that I have into every song that I sing, every time I sing it.
I can tell.
And I do that even at home when I'm practicing. This is, I've tried to prepare myself just like a professional athlete would, getting ready to go into the Olympics. They've got 3 years to train. And that's how I looked at it.
Hey, dude, I've been doing some research over the last week, just looking into you more, and I feel like I've just been sleeping on you for a year, but that's one of the great things about the Lexies is it brings people together and it introduces you to new talent. And then I started, looking into you more. A lot of people might not know this. Maybe they do. You're also a YouTuber.
Oh, yeah.
You have a really cool show because you made a video the other day and you tagged me in it. And you were talking about just a night at the Lexies.
Right.
How long have you been doing that?
The YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel.
So, I started 2010.
Uh-huh.
I started a YouTube channel, and I started it initially for my children.
Which that beeping, folks, is he's YouTubing
Sorry,
right now.
I am YouTubing right now, so you'll see this footage on the channel. But so 2010, I was recording a project called Soft Like Fire, and that required me to be away from home a lot. And so what I ended up doing is just every day after I would kind of wrap up at the studio, I would sit down with the footage that I had accumulated over the course of that day and kind of just posted a video. It was the only place I knew that my children could get to it at all times without me having to give them a thumb drive. That's all it was.
Man, I loved it. It was. How long does it take you to do a video? Because you had so many clips and whatnot in there.
So the one I just did about the Lexi, that took a minute because there was a lot of footage. But what I did is I noticed as I was, doing the episode, I started naming off everyone. And I know how this works as a creator. Oh, if I name it, I got to put something on the screen. And so before I realized it, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I set myself up for? And so you can even hear me in the episode. I second guessed myself about stopping. And then I was like, no, you can't. It's not fair. So I just kept on going. So a typical episode is accumulated over the course of however long the last episode was. Sometimes I'll put, 2 episodes a month out. My goal is to get to putting one out once a week. And I'm getting there, but I'm not putting pressure on myself to get there. I'm telling my story in a way that I hope that as people start to pay attention, my prayer is that they will go backwards. That they will, because ultimately, if you go all the way back, even to just this JZO journey, which started in 2020, even if you just go back there, you'll see a man that has lost it all. He lost everything. And I knew what God had in store for what I'm doing now. I saw it then. No, it was tough because you're in a place where nobody else sees it, but the belief that God had given me in how he could use my story is what ultimately manifested the awards. Because, sitting in that seat a year ago, I felt it, okay, God, I'm here for a reason. There's a reason why I'm connecting with people. And if this is the stage you want me to get up on and, say, hi, my name's Jeremy, then that's what we're going to do. And so, since then, it's just been work to make it happen.
So what's next for you in terms of your ultimate goal? What do you want your ultimate goal to be? For instance, like me, I know that I want my show to be nationally syndicated, right?
Sure.
What's your ultimate goal as a performer?
To continue to live a life of balance while being myself and affecting humanity in the best way that I can. For me, that looks like right now it does. It looks like telling my story. I just found out, or I just accepted the diagnosis of being autistic about 2.5 years ago. That changed my life. I rededicated my entire self to whatever it was that God had in store for me. Once I realized who I was through the, therapy of autism and trying to figure out what's next, through that process, and at the same time, my dad was dying. And so there was this just insane amount of, I felt like God had me on a chokehold, just on the ground, just having to shout his presence at me because I was so lost. And so at the end of the day, I realized that it wasn't a chokehold at all. It was actually him keeping me in that field of green that we pray that, Psalm 23 gives us, So at the end of that entire journey, I really discovered who I was. And because of the way that I chose to do it, I've been a spiritual man my whole life. You know, part of that journey was sincerely digging into everything that I could that showed me the nature of God in every direction. And so what I've tried to do in my music now, you know, I love to call it grunge gospel. You know, people are coming up and saying, it's grunge gospel, man. I love that because it is what it is.
It's a good way to describe the style. Because that song, it's not called Hallelujah. It's called Gratitude.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Brandon Lake wrote that song.
Man,
it's
such
an amazing song.
Beautiful. Well, you sang it great.
Thank you.
So Brandon better be careful, man, because you're going to outshine him. You know, you were talking about autism. That's certainly fascinating because it just proves that there's many different faces to autism, and it's good that you're bringing awareness. Speaking of awareness, you are playing at a festival called A Day in the Park. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, A Day at the Park was started last year by myself, my mother, and some friends. We were kind of sitting around, and I was talking about the fact that for season 4 for my YouTube channel, like, autism awareness is kind of what we're pushing. And so, I was like, why don't we just have a festival here in Lawrenceburg? They've got a beautiful stage. And so went ahead and did that, had some people that donated enough to be able to hire some really cool artists. Rachel Crow was there last year. Mm-hmm. She headlined it. And so that is the foundation of what we've decided to do every year. And it's something that, you know, is intentionally put right by Father's Day because I want families to come out and enjoy a day with Dad. Mother's Day, they get all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to, encourage people to get out with their dads too. So, it's A Day at the Park. It's raising autism awareness.
And what's the date?
June 22nd.
June 22nd in Lawrenceburg. Okay, yes. Now Jeremy, you're going to be doing a live performance for us on the radio.
All right.
I love it. At one time when I started the show, I could never get anybody to come in and do live performing.
Yeah.
So I love it when people come in and want to do live performing. So talk about the song that you're going to be singing for us today.
Sure. I'll go ahead and do a song I wrote about my autism journey.
Okay.
When I was in front of my therapist, for it was the appointment that I looked at him and said, okay, I have autism. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it takes. It takes you acknowledging the fact. Otherwise, you're not going to buy into anything. You have to believe it about yourself. So once I had that, I left, and then I came back for my next appointment. And my therapist looked at me, and he was like, tell me about your week. And the only thing that I could come up with in that moment was I suddenly see in color. That's how I feel. I feel like all my life I've seen in monotone or monochromatic colors. And it's like, now understanding who I actually am and how that impacts my story, it's the only thing I could say is I suddenly see in color. So that's the first line of this song. That's a journey that I love to talk about, and I talk about it on the channel all the time.
Well, Jeremy is going to play us out. He's actually going to play the show out with this original song of his. Jeremy, tell everybody where they can follow you on social media and where they can find your stuff.
If you Google Jeremy Zeller and The Other Side, or just Jeremy Zeller on Facebook, you'll find me. I think my ats are just Jeremy Zeller and The Other Side, or Jeremy Zeller or something. But yeah, if you Google it, I'm on all the streaming. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, and I don't do much on X, or Twitter, or whatever.
These days. All right. Well, Jeremy, you've got the floor, my man. Just serenade us out right here on the air. This is Jeremy Zeller with his original song. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to another episode of Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. We will be back with a brand new episode in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening, and here is Jeremy Zeller.
Well, I suddenly see in color that I never would have known had I stayed there in that corner with that broken nightlight on. Just a kid there in the kitchen, face down on the floor, a stick cocked at the doorway as the clock struck 3 once more. But I found out and that the atoms are made of empty space, and that Judas loves Jesus the same. Yes, I found out along the way that colors and sounds are all the same. Yes, I found out along the way that Judas loves Jesus the same. But I finally see the picture that's born down in my heart, the hopes and fears of all the years my mind had yet to start. Oh, but I found out along the way that Jesus loves Judas the same, and that the atoms are made of empty space, and that Judas loves Jesus the same. Yes, I found out along